Thank you for the kindness and for the introduction. A bit of vomiting is nothing between girls. I come from the West Country. We deal with animals largely. It's so fine. It's lovely to see you all here and so many of you in the room as well. I think it's important to point that out. And frankly, if there was just one person in this room, I think it would still be very important that I were here to speak to one person, because one person matters just as much as 100 people to me. Every person counts, you know. Were it my parents, I would like to think they counted too. So I think that matters. Now, a few things we should clear up before I get started. I am not Richard Brain. There's been many questions raised by some unsavoury individuals about my gender and my sexuality in the past. I know we all get to choose these days, and that's all very well and good. People get confused because I have short hair, so therefore they think I'm a lesbian. I'm not. I just have short hair. Those are different things. I even wore heels today to prove it. And despite having bigger balls than most, I am definitely not Dick. I would like to extend, if we may, a round of applause and a few cheers for Kirsten, who I think has been exceptionally brave, exceptionally stoic, and has done a phenomenal job of standing up against some of the bullying that I've seen of her. So a few round of applause, please, for Kirsten. We need a few more strong women like her. My name is Katie Hopkins. I am a white, Christian, conservative, married, surprising, mother with 3 children, which in this country these days makes me, you know, something of an endangered species. I'm right up there with the black rhino, except he has an advantage because he's black. I still can't quite believe the Welsh have let me into Wales. The last time I tried to do a speaking tour of Welsh schools at the invitation and request of Welsh school children, their education secretary, a short little lady with red hair, I don't know, she said if the schools held me or had me on their premises, she would withdraw funding from those educational institutions and banned me from schools in Wales, which seems a little bit extreme. I can only imagine the frustration many of you have felt over the last couple of days watching some of the squabbling and infighting that has gone on around UKIP, and I empathise with you. But fear not, ladies and gentlemen, because I have brought a handy tool to sort all of this out. It's a 5-inch ruler. I thought the boys could all measure their members. And when they've worked out whose is actually the biggest, maybe we could all get back to doing what we actually need to do. You'll notice I've only brought a 5-inch one, but that's because they didn't have a 4-inch one in stock. Because the truth is, ladies and gentlemen, in all seriousness, away from the nonsense, the truth of us and the truth of this great place that we used to know called Britain is there is much that we agree on. And if I could have your hands, please. Hands up if you voted for Brexit. Hands up if you love the people who fought to defend this country in the World War I and World War II. Hands up if you believe that the people who put into this system all their lives should be at the front of the queue when it comes to taking out. And hands up if you want your children, your grandchildren to go to schools where they learn about Christian culture, British values, and how to be a bit more resilient. You see, there is so much that unites us. There is so much that we have to work on. Native Brits, British nationals should be first in the queue, ahead of recent arrivals or non-British citizens. They should be first in the queue for school places, no matter whether migrants have recently moved into the area or whether there is a single mum in a council house nearby. British nationals should be first in the queue for doctors' surgeries, with all else waiting their turn. And our lovely British nationals who have supported this country for so long, worked hard all their lives, should be first in the queue for elderly care and nursing homes. Not told that a new hip or hearing or sight is no longer a priority. This country has bowed its head for too long. For too long, we have tiptoed around the cultures that have chosen to join us and failed to stand up for the culture that they chose to join. You know, Malala is a really good example. Of course, she was shot in the head on a bus and survived, and absolutely, she was given a new, safe place to live at home in the UK, a Christian country. She was awarded a Nobel Peace Prize for her courage and for standing up for the rights of girls to be educated, absolutely. But now, of course, Malala is back in Kashmir in India, standing up for Pakistan, doing the work of Islamists, and is effectively a puppet for Imran Khan and his propaganda. You know, it's a strange thing, Malala, isn't it? When you needed safety and you needed shelter, Islam and Muslims come to Christian countries every single time. Why is that? You know, we have it beaten out of us that we must not question migration, that you dare not challenge the imposition of people into this great country that we used to know. You know, we are told that even questioning it is not allowed, the left and their thought police making it so that no one even dare talk about the sheer numbers of people and the effect they have on the services most under pressure and facing the most demand. And of course, your former colleague, Farage, has performed the miracle of St. Nigel to make Brexit Party squeaky clean enough to attract and secure mainstream media interviews and coverage. But he has sanitized the Brexit debate. He has made it just about leaving the EU, and only that. Somehow forgetting that that poster of the migrant hordes that neatly summarized how many of us feel about our country being invaded was a big part of why we wanted to take our country back. By some curious sleight of hand, Farage has convinced the crowds for a brief moment that Brexit is all about leaving the EU and only that. That all we voted for when we went to vote for the referendum was a loathing of a guy called Verhofstadt, and that we were sick of Merkel and Macron telling us what to do, which of course we are. But the Brexit Party is a house of cards built on sand, and it will soon fall. Fracture lines are beginning to show already, whether it's Claire Fox tweeting pro-migrant tweets from, in my opinion, the raging lunatic Majid, or of regions unable to coordinate and create events because they're not allowed access to the all-powerful database. I take no pleasure in this. We are all on the same bench, we're all on the same team, no matter what our personal differences or the slights against us. But what the miracle of St. Nigel makes perfectly clear is that there is about to be, and is now, a vast swathe of unrepresented Brits who voted for Brexit because they wanted to put British people first and are not afraid to confront the forbidden matter of migration and want something much more than just an exit from the EU. We want our country back. So when people say to me, well, what's the point of UKIP? I find it really easy to answer. UKIP started this. UKIP is a home for good people like yourselves who know what you voted for and can't find it spoken about anywhere else. And it will be a home for the disillusioned after the 31st of October when they find that no one is standing up and speaking out for the stuff that still matters to them. UKIP formed much of the Brexit Party, and they made a real difference, all of them, at the European elections. But after Brexit, we will need a strong party just like UKIP, willfully standing on a platform that is about controlling immigration, putting British nationals at the front of the queue, and prioritising our elderly and the hardest working in this country of ours. If you are a carer of an elderly relative, we will care for you. If you served our great country, then this country should serve you first. And if you are working hard to try and do the right thing for your family, if you have a job, then you should choose the school place that best fits with your busy life. Unemployed people have plenty of time to travel to a school further away. Aside from the British people that we need to care for most, we also have a British culture that is wilting like a plant, left without water. Our Union flag barely flies. Our churches turned over to mosques or houses, and areas of our inner cities that I spend time in are absolutely no-go zones for police or white people. And I should know, I've been to Bradford. Today, the BBC proudly announced it has had Conservative Party members suspended for so much as liking a tweet they perceive to be anti-Islam, and that's the BBC. So I started a new dictionary, according to approved thoughts, policed by our boys in blue. Racist, noun, a white person with an opinion. Diverse, adjective, no white people anywhere to be seen. Community, a collective noun for people who must not be criticised. I was in Woolwich recently. I was going to Belmarsh to visit Tommy. And a gentleman on his phone, I think African Caribbean gentleman, went, "Oi, it's a bit diverse around here for you, isn't it, Hopkins?" It is now I've arrived, sunshine. The governor was kind enough to come down and spend some time with me and Tommy, and I promised him, I tried to, I said I would try not to darken his door, but I fear that time becomes ever closer, actually, and many of the references we were just hearing about feel very much present in my own life in a much more personal way. Just 2 days ago, I had the police at my home in a place you can imagine I keep my children, husband, and my parents are well out of the way of all of this. The police were at my door. They were questioning my children as to where I was. I wasn't home. I was in Geneva at the UN. And they wanted to talk to me because of a tweet I posted in reference to a Muslim, majority Pakistani Muslim rape squad currently being, their trial is happening as we speak in Leeds Crown Court. But they knocked on my door and asked my 15-year-old daughter where I was and when I'd be back because they needed to speak to me because I tweeted that this court case was ongoing. I've been interviewed under caution in a police station for a column in a newspaper, threatened with repatriation from Australia by Police Scotland for upsetting ginger people in the north. I am banned from South Africa by the ANC for daring to report on the genocide of whites from the land. And I am banned from my own university campus, Exeter University, for winning a debate on migration. I have been the target of a terrorist plot to behead me by 2 jihadis who had plans of my home and my children's bedroom in their possession when they practiced chopping my head off with a hunting knife and a shop dummy. And I've sold my family home to pay for litigation brought against me under new law created just for me, that serious harm is done on social media without proof of serious harm being required. You can just say that you perceived that you were seriously harmed. So speaking out comes at a price, but it is a price I am perfectly willing to pay. I was born with something wrong with my brain. My father says that's been blatantly obvious from the start. But as a result of this strange little thing, like a tumour thing, I got epilepsy at 19, which became chronic by 25. It's not something I talk about often, but I'm amongst friends. I had 3 or 4 fits a night, have dislocated one or both of my arms 43 times from the sheer force of fits, which is incredible when you think about it. I fractured my spine with a grand mal seizure, and I was told by my surgeon that a seizure would get me within 2 years. And so for 15 years or so, whilst being in the public eye, my first 2 texts on the road, in hotels or wherever I was sleeping, would be to my husband and then to my mum to say I'm okay, which is sort of British for I'm still here, or I didn't snuff it yet. I tell you all this not for sympathy or pity. I really abhor those 2 things. But my children don't have the condition, and I know others suffer worse or live with cruel conditions that have no cure. But I have been given the gift of new life thanks to a team of surgeons and 13 hours under general anaesthetic, which I can perfectly recommend to everybody. It's a really good break, I tell you. And I am completely cured, and so as such, I am all in. I like that I get the clap for that, even though I just had a sleep. I didn't do like the 20 years medical college training that those guys did. You know, I wasn't supposed to get this time, and so it's been given to me. And so it's not like I'm fearless, it's just that I am completely without fear. They can take my jobs, they have. They can take my house, they have. They can take my children's sense of safety in their own home, they have. They can take my opportunities, my safety. But they cannot take my truths or my ability to tell them. And they cannot take the truths of those who confide in me so that their voices may be heard at a time when they can no longer speak. You know, I have the ultimate faith that we are on the side of good, and history will show this to be true. And you know, history catches up with us pretty fast these days at the speed things move. And so I believe some of us, not all of us in this room, no disrespect intended, will live long enough to see that we were fighting on the side of right. You know, others are ahead of us down this dark path. South African farmers now make up around 5%, so 5% whites left in South Africa. And they are preparing to make a final stand. They are retreating to defendable space. And they say they will die in their boots for the love of their land. And as I watch my Jewish friends now leaving Paris, leaving London, leaving Germany, I wonder where we will go. I wonder where is our Israel. And the saddest emails I ever receive are from the elderly who tell me that they're glad their time is nearly up so they won't have to see their country fall. And we know it's upon us. By 2035, births to Muslims outnumber all others. By 2050, they will be a majority in the UK, and power and political influence of the sort earned in Peterborough will continue to pour into their hands. The scaffolding and the systems are all in place. And so I say that it is our job to hold the line. It is our job to carve up an oasis of sanity where we can all breathe. And it is our job to build a movement of proud British nationals who will defend what they know is right against the odds and to stop feeling alone. And it doesn't mean making yourself a target, as I have. I took that on. That's my thing to deal with. It's about knowing what you believe. It's about refusing to be spoon-fed the narrative forced at you by the BBC and others, and supporting each other in your truths. It's about reinforcing the positives. Boris standing up against the appeasement. Salvini playing the long game for power in Italy. I believe he will prevail. The Gilets jaunes in France refusing to be cowed by Macron's bully boys. Or the people of Hong Kong waving the British flag as a reminder of what it means to be free You know, I all feel like we all need to be a little bit more Hong Konger as we go about. And we need to wave the union in our heads and remind yourself what it means to be free. And it can be lonely. I know it's lonely. There's a Muslim in the kitchen committing harry-carry. But you're not alone. We are many. We shouted on the 23rd of June 2016, "I've been married twice, still the best night of my life." And we are defiant in the face of near universal deceit. We will be heard. Because you are part of something much bigger than this, much bigger than this place, this party. You are part of the fight of right against wrong, of good versus evil, and you all matter. You really matter. UKIP matters. You've got Trump, you've got Salvini, you've got Modi, Morrison, Vox, the AfD, Bolsonaro, the Finns, the Swedish Democrats, Orban, and whether you bloody well like it or not, you've got me. I am the Ebola of politics, and there's no vaccination, so stand by. We are in this together. We stand together, and together we will hold the line and put British nationals firmly at the front of the queue. Thank you very much indeed for your time. Thank you.